Let's talk about this. CNN legal analyst Areva Martin is here from Los Angeles, and psychotherapist Robi Ludwig joining us from New York. Good to see both of you.
Hi, Fred.
So, Areva, you first, because he's still facing those 10 counts. How did this benefit R. Kelly to do this sit-down interview?
I can't see, Fred, how it benefits him at all in terms of his criminal case. Now, perhaps he thought that he would win somehow in the court of public opinion. He said this was the first time he really got to defend himself. But when you look at this bombastic and threatening, this interview where he's making these gestures and this conduct, it doesn't benefit him. We know in a trial he doesn't have to testify on his own behalf because of the Fifth Amendment, but essentially he has testified. This entire interview can be introduced by the prosecution, and jurors will have an opportunity to look at him. Now, although he denies the charges and he calls the women that are accusing him liars, what we saw was a very angry, a very violent man, and it plays into this narrative that he is controlling and dominating. And quite frankly, one could reach the conclusion that he's very capable of the kind of sexual abuse that he's been charged with. So from a legal standpoint, there is nothing promising or beneficial to him as it relates to this, really searing 80-minute interview.
So, Robi, he tried to convey that he is a victim. He says he's being buried alive. People are trying to take him down.
Well, I do believe that R. Kelly does experience himself as a victim and that people are out to get him. And that is what is so frightening. We clearly see a man who does not understand the impact of his behavior. He normalizes it, basically. He sees himself only as the person who's being attacked. And this could have to do with his own childhood sexual abuse that never got processed properly. This is somebody who's not psychologically sophisticated. So he's reenacting this abuse, and somehow his fame enabled him to do so and contributed to his own denial.
This is another portion of that extraordinary interview with Gayle King. All right, well, we're looking at it. We're watching the body language, Areva, you talked about, looking unhinged, out of control, emotional, etc. But at the same time, does this in any way assist in R. Kelly's frustration that he's expressing about even his past and how all of this is kind of bubbling up?
Well, we don't know, Fred, what the defense is going to be. We heard his lawyer come out immediately after the charges were filed and basically call all of the women liars. And we heard R. Kelly parrot the same comments during this interview. But that's going to be a very difficult defense to put forth. It's not one woman that's accused him. There are 4 victims that are going to come forward based on what we know from the prosecutors and make allegations against R. Kelly. And to me, it's not just this interview. We got to look at that series, that Lifetime series, Surviving R. Kelly. 50 women approximately came forward and told their stories. They put a face to the allegations that have been swirling about R. Kelly for 2 decades now. And those images are seared in the memories of millions of people that watched that documentary. And that's going to be a pretty big hurdle for him to overcome in a jury trial.
And at least one of the women in that documentary said, this is an act. That was a performance. And he is trying to sway public opinion, Areva, especially in light of the legal case ahead of him.
Yeah, and if that was his goal, I don't think he accomplished it, Fred. I think, if anything, he showed the American people that he is violent, potentially violent, that he's threatening, that he's unhinged emotionally, as you said. I cannot think of any benefit that this video or this interview did for him, other than perhaps give him an opportunity to tell his story. I just don't think the American people are buying his denial.
So, Robert, we also heard from 2 of R. Kelly's girlfriends, defending the singer, claiming their parents are going after the singer, to get money. Of course, the parents adamantly are denying this. How helpful to R. Kelly was the account of these young women who say they live with him and, they're not afraid of him?
Yeah. Well, these girls just seem very young, naive, misguided, influenced. We could certainly imagine a scenario where down the road, once they are away from R. Kelly, they see their situation from a very, very different perspective. But I don't think this did anything positive for R. Kelly. First of all, why would any woman want to share a guy with another woman anyway in a long-term capacity? That's not intimacy. There's something off there anyway. So we have 3 people who are misguided and off in some way, living together and colluding together. And I agree that R. Kelly came off as a very violent, scary guy. Now, Gayle King handled it beautifully. She was like the good mother and said, Robert, get a hold of yourself. But we clearly see this is a man who's out of control and out of touch with the impact that he is making on others.
Yeah. All right, Robi, Ludwig, Reva Martin, thanks to both of you. Appreciate it.